Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ange, if you haven't met me before. And today I'm going to be making a video on one of my top choices for the best low light indoor houseplants you can have. If you do like some planty content, then definitely hit subscribe, as I'll be uploading some plant videos every single week. I'm joined here with my dog Cash. I'm luring him to be a good boy, and I've given him a little bow tie for the occasion. We are a little bit bored at home, so I thought, hey, why don't we both dress up for this video? So the first thing I want to do is kind of explain what exactly is low light. So definitely your bright indirect light is when your plants are getting a lot of ambient lighting through the window, but it's not direct sun, so no sun is actually hitting the leaves of the plant. Your medium light would be maybe a few feet back pulled from that window, with still a lot of ambient lighting in the room. However, your low light would definitely be something that's really kind of far back into a corner, but it doesn't necessarily mean that there is no light whatsoever. I personally don't think that any plant is going to survive in absolutely no lighting whatsoever. It's definitely going to need either a grow light or some sort of ambient light coming from a window or something like that. However, I will say that most plants won't thrive in low light. It normally survives. So what that means is it won't necessarily put out new growth, and it really won't do much of anything. But if you do want something pretty in that kind of dark corner of the room, then these plants could be some great options. You definitely want to cut down on the amount that you're watering the plant as well, because your plant is not going to be using as much energy to photosynthesize and therefore not using as much water. So when you're putting a plant into lower light, make sure that you cut down the amount of water that you are giving it. The first plant that I want to mention today would be this snake plant, or mother-in-law's tongue, which I think is highly offensive. This was called a Sansevieria, but has been reclassified as a Dracaena plant. This one here is the Dracaena trifasciata plant, but there are many different varieties of snake plants that you can purchase. This one here can survive in many different lighting conditions, which means it can go from low light, medium light to high light pretty much. I used to have this one in quite a low light environment. It was all the way at the back of my south facing room. You sniffy. And I will say that while it was in that environment, it really didn't do much of anything. It didn't die, but it definitely didn't thrive. I have since then moved it into more of a highlight environment, but nothing direct sun, and it has put out these two ginormous leaves, and it is popping out lots and lots of little babies. So this one here as well can go a really long time without watering it. When it was in my low light environment, I probably watered it about once a month, I would say, and that was when it was completely bone dry. Now that it's in more of a highlight situation, I am probably watering this about once every 3 weeks, so still not a lot of water for this plant. My next plant that I have to show you is from the Philodendron family, and this one here is called the oh, I just spilled water all over my lap. The Philodendron Rojo Congo. So it has some massive leaves, and it is more of like a upright growing philodendron instead of your climbing philodendron. Philodendron Rojo Congo is a really cool plant. So it is growing out a new leaf here, as you can see. You don't want to touch it, otherwise it gets mad at you. But the new leaf will come in more of like a reddy kind of orangey color, and it will fade down to a darker green as the leaves mature, which I think is really pretty, and it gives some variation to just green everywhere in your house. So another philodendron you can have in your low light environments would be your classic heartleaf philodendron. This one here, unlike the other philodendron I showed you, is more of a vining plant. So I've given it just pretty much a stick to grow up. You can give it a moss pole. It'll definitely attach onto that moss pole a lot easier than it will a stick, but who has money to go out and buy sticks when you can just buy plants? This one has been a casualty of fetch playing with my dog, so you can see a lot of leaves have broken. So the moral of the story is don't play fetch with your dogs inside the house. Both of these kinds of philodendrons definitely appreciate drying out a little bit, but not completely dry out like your snake plants. But just make sure that the top inch or two of the soil is dry before you water them. I would like to show you what low light does to the size of the leaves. You can see that as my plant was getting more of a higher light situation, the leaves are a lot bigger. However, as I've moved it to more of a low light situation, the leaves have gotten quite small. So if that is important to you, having a really big luscious plant, then I would recommend not putting these guys in low light. However, I just want to make my house look as much of a jungle as I can, so I kind of want to put plants in every area of my house. Another good family of houseplants that can survive in more of a low light situation would definitely be your Calatheas. This one here is a Chalasia Makhijani, or I think it is known as a peacock plant, but correct me if I'm wrong. It does have this striking foliage that it is gorgeous to look at, some really beautiful like hand-painted things on the leaves. However, I wouldn't recommend these kinds of plants for beginners because they can be quite temperamental. There are a few older leaves, again a fetch accident with my dog, but another one where I just didn't really know how to take care of them and it was struggling a little bit at the beginning. Calatheas definitely enjoy more of a higher humidity. If you can, put it in your bathroom or somewhere around a humidifier, somewhere that's going to be quite high humidity for them, or they will be prone to quite crispy edges. So this one, as you can see, the newer growth is again quite small in comparison to some of the bigger leaves when I was giving it more of a higher light situation. So it's going to grow and it will survive, but it's definitely not going to thrive in a low light environment. The Calathea family doesn't really like to dry out completely, so I would say keep it on the moist side. Definitely not soaking wet all the time, but don't let it dry out completely, otherwise it can kind of suffer from that. These guys will also appreciate more of a clean water, so if you use something like distilled water or rainwater to water them, they will definitely appreciate that and love you for it. I'm pretty lazy, so I don't do that. I just suffer the consequences of crispy leaves. The next plant that I want to share with you would definitely be a classic in your houseplant collection, and that is a peace lily. So these ones definitely are good for more of your lower or moderate light conditions. This one here is called the Peace Lily Domino variety, I believe. So that means that it has some lovely variegation on the leaves, but it's not as segmented as, say, the Picasso Peace Lily. It also has these kind of weird, ruffly, ruched leaves, which I think are really super cute and not really something that I've seen before. Peace lilies in general like to stay a little bit more on the moist side, but definitely not wet. So they will definitely droop and slump down when they are a little bit thirsty, and that is a really easy telltale way to show you that you need to water them. They'll definitely perk up within another hour or so after watering. If you are getting a variegated variety of a peace lily, it's definitely not going to put out much variegation in more of your lower light situation. So definitely if you want to keep that variegation, put it in more of a medium or brighter light. The other peace lily that I have that I put in quite a low light area is this massive one. So I keep this one really quite far back from the south facing window again, pretty close to where I kept my snake plant at the beginning of the video, and this guy puts out massive leaves. However, it's slowed down a lot of its growth, and a lot of its new growth is a lot smaller like the other plants that I've shown you. Darker peace lilies like this would definitely be a good option for you to keep in more of your low light space. And don't mind these ugly leaves. They are again a casualty of fetch, or when Cash was a puppy, he would rip things up. He has since learned not to do that because I go absolutely crazy. So those are my top choices for your low light indoor houseplants. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe if you want to see some more planty content from me. See you guys in my next video. Bye!